What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've probably got one of my favorite 2022 fantasy football breakdowns that we do all year long, and that is the perfect draft for this fantasy football season. Basically, if you guys aren't familiar with it, we take control of all 12 teams in a full PPR league, and we make every single selection on our own for the first 8 rounds, building together the quote-unquote perfect roster round by round, making the selections that make the most amount of sense, and kind of show you guys our thought process, how we would go about these drafts at every single position. So should be extremely interesting. If you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comments section your thoughts along with any other questions you guys might have. We will do our best to answer them all. And lastly, make sure to get yourself a copy of the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Has everything you can want at a great value. Top 150 overall player rankings in standard and PPR formats, individual player bios, tiers, projections, along with general fantasy advice. All those details in the description. But with that being said, let's get right into it. And as you can see, I've already gone through the process of making the selections for all of these teams. So we're going to go round by round and give you guys our thoughts, kind of pick by pick, and just kind of go from there and then look at each one of these teams afterwards. Now, a quick note, our roster is going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then 1 bench spot. Obviously it's not a full 15, 16 rounds. We're not looking at kickers. We're not looking at defenses. But I still think we can get the core grade here, constructing the core of our roster. And since we did make it a prerequisite that, we have to fill the quarterback and tight end spot, there might be some names that are going a little bit earlier than you might be used to. We'll point it out. But it was for the purpose of kind of rounding out each team. Again, this is a 12-team full PPR setup. Keep that in mind. But honestly, that's it. Let's kick it off. So the first pick, and I've said this many times before, we've got Christian McCaffrey at the 101. It's either him or Jonathan Taylor. Personally, I think McCaffrey has the higher upside. Yes, he's a riskier pick, but in those scenarios, what you do is you back him up with other good running back options. So team 1, McCaffrey, then team 2, the natural pick, Jonathan Taylor, and then team 3, I think that's also a pretty easy pick. That is Austin Eckler, in my opinion, in full PPR scoring. He should be the 3rd running back selected. We're a long way away from going wide receiver here. Clearly here you can see my mindset, what I always preach, the running back hierarchy, understanding the positional hierarchy. Running back is the most important position. And if you're in leagues where people prioritize the position, you could very well get into the 2nd round and a lot of the top choices are gone. And that's what you're going to see here. Then 4th overall, we go Dalvin Cook, a guy that I have as a top 5 running back. He stays healthy the entire season. Very good, versatile running back. I like him there. I think that's a pretty good pick as well. He's been going a lot later. Good value pick in general. Team 5, Alvin Kamara at the 105. I've been saying this. I don't anticipate a suspension coming. Just with the way the court dates are right now, and with the way a ruling would come down and then the potential appeal process, I don't think we're going to see a suspension for Kamara in 2022. So to me, in full PPR scoring, he is a top 5 pick. Then you see DeAndre Swift at the 106. Again, in full PPR scoring, I have Swift a lot higher. I think he's going to be very involved as a pass catcher, as a rusher. One of the primary weapons for the Lions, a very good offensive line. Kind of an Austin Eckler, Alvin Kamara light. Then team 7, Saquon Barkley. Some people might call this a reach, considering you might be able to get Barkley in the 2nd round of your drafts. But I've been saying this, Barkley's ADP is going to go up. We have him relatively high in our rankings. Improved offensive line. Another year removed away from the injury. He's going to be one of the focal points offensively. Yes, we like Barkley as an RB1. Then Aaron Jones. I've been pumping up Aaron Jones all season long in PPR formats. I love him. I think he's going to have huge upside with his pass catching ability without Devontae Adams. And speaking of Devontae Adams, transitioning to the wide receiver position, here this is the point, picks 9 and 10, where we see our first wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp. I did go with Justin Jefferson first. Again, primarily because of that potential elbow issue with Matthew Stafford, but I'm not all that worried about it. Maybe just adds like a little bit percentage of risk with Cooper Kupp, but as you can see, again, Cooper Kupp is the next pick right afterwards. So we've kind of gotten to that point where I saw those guys at better values. And then our last two picks, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, rounding out the first round. Derrick Henry drops because of this being full PPR scoring. But the nice thing here, the way this worked out, I actually really like some of the teams with the final selections. They go back-to-back running backs. They don't have to wait because the running back pool is depleted pretty quickly, as you're going to see. Derrick Henry's paired up with Najee Harris. I really like that. Then Joe Mixon with Leonard Fournette. Really like that start as well. And then finally, with the third pick in the second round, you see Ezekiel Elliott. I think he's extremely underrated. The Cowboys have said numerous times that he is going to, be the focal point offensively. They go as he goes. I still view him as an RB1. Pair him up with Cooper Kupp. I think that's a solid combo. Then Jamar Chase to pair up with Justin Jefferson. So we're going to see at least one of these teams kind of go wide receiver heavy in the first two rounds. Let's see how it plays out. Then Travis Kelce goes off the board. Try and get that positional advantage, see how that works out. You've already got Aaron Jones. The wide receiver position is deep. Didn't necessarily love the other running backs, so decided to take a shot on Kelce. Then cleaning up the other values at wide receiver, Saquon Barkley, you add Stephon Diggs to that. You already have DeAndre Swift. You add Devontae Adams to that, both top 5 wide receivers. Then the team with Alvin Kamara goes with Nick Chubb. Yes, Chubb isn't a big-time PPR guy, but I saw this as like a nice little combo. Chubb, a safer like running back option. Pair him up with Kamara. I do like that. Then we go CeeDee Lamb towards the end of the second at the 209, pairing him up with Dalvin Cook. Typically the next like wide receiver being selected. Mark Andrews also goes towards the end of the second round with a similar logic. You've got an anchor in Austin Eckler. You don't have to wait too long. You can still get a pretty good wide receiver next or a running back depending on how it plays out. Then Keenan Allen at the 211. Really like him in PPR scoring. Then go back to the 101. With Christian McCaffrey. So like I said before, just pair up McCaffrey with running back depth. That's what you see here. Travis Etienne and James Conner. I'm very high in Travis Etienne. I'm not all that worried about James Robinson and the Achilles. It'd be a miraculous comeback for him just to return and be 100%. Year one, and it hasn't even been a full year since his Achilles injury, the cutting, the explosiveness just isn't there. It's going to be Etienne that leads this backfield in rushing and pass catching. Then we go to Javonte Williams. Typically, I'm not the biggest Javonte Williams fan, but I do think there's a drop-off after this point at the running back position, and Williams by far had the highest upside here, and you already have Jonathan Taylor, so I'd pair him up there. Then Deebo Samuel at the 303. Not quite as high on him this year without Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think the pass-catching upside is going to be as huge, and I don't know if the usage as rusher is going to be as huge either. Then we see Tyreek Hill at the 304 to pair him up with CeeDee Lamb. I didn't want to reach on a running back at this point in time. And then Michael Pittman goes at the 305. This team needed to get a wide receiver. Already had Kamara, already had Chubb. Then you add Mike Evans at the 306 to Devontae Adams and DeAndre Swift. Again, I like the upside for Evans. Could be considered a risky pick depending on what happens with Chris Godwin. We'll see there. Then David Montgomery goes at the 307. I wanted to add depth to Saquon Barkley. And that's what we did. We already had Stephon Diggs. And then I do think you could have argued there was like a little kind of dip at wide receivers afterwards. Then at the 308, Allen Robinson, one of our favorite wide receivers. You're going to see him go in the 5th, maybe even 6th round of your drafts. He shouldn't be going that late. I've said it before. I'm perfectly fine taking him in the 3rd round, as you see here. But, take advantage of the fact that you can get him later. Then we see Breece Hall. And this is the team that had Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. You love that start at wide receiver, but you need running back help desperately. I don't like Breece Hall. I think he's being overdrafted. But again, this is one of those situations where you need to address the running back position. And again, Breece Hall does have the upside, but also kind of a low floor, which is why you're going to see the running back position be a focal point later on. Then afterwards, DJ Moore, a run on wide receivers here. I think we get to a good point of wide receiver value. DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Mike Williams, Terry McLaurin. So like I said before here, I really like this combo. The last two teams that started running back, and then just going wide receivers, playing it, kind of just let the draft come to them. So T. Higgins, Mike Williams, Terry McLaurin, Jalen Waddle, I like those combos. Then A.J. Dillon at the 403, only had one running back, had to go another one. I do think A.J. Dillon has standalone value, so, obviously not as high a ceiling as Aaron Jones, but hopefully he can be like a top 20, 25 running back. Then go with Kyle Pitts here. You're going for upside either way, the way this team was kind of constructed. I think Kittle and Waller would have been kind of like the safer choices, but you're going kind of boom or bust here, especially with that Breece Hall and back-to-back wide receiver selection. So Kyle Pitts makes sense from that perspective. Then here, A.J. Brown at the 405. I'm not the biggest A.J. Brown fan, but again, you're going for upside. You still don't have your second running back on this team. You started with Travis Kelce in the second round. So you kind of take a little bit of a chance on A.J. Brown. Then at the 406, Marquise Brown. I like his upside as a wide receiver one. We'll see what happens when DeAndre Hopkins returns. But for the first 6 weeks of the season, I think he's in a high-scoring offense with Kyler Murray, and he's going to put up pretty good numbers. Then we see George Kittle being selected here. Again, I didn't think the running back value was necessarily there, so I decided to get a top 5 tight end. Afterwards here, we get Juju Smith-Schuster. Already have 2 running backs. Getting another wide receiver to pair with Pittman. I'm a fan of Juju. He's not going to be Tyreek Hill 2.0, but he doesn't have to be. He can still be like a top 15 borderline wide receiver. Then we see Darren Waller here. I contemplated dropping Waller a little bit because, he's basically been dealing with a hamstring for a while now. But there's been no word about it potentially being an issue 100% or, given. So for that reason, I'm still treating it as if it's okay. Obviously, we will update that afterwards if something does come out. Then you see Courtland Sutton here. The upside is definitely there with Russell Wilson as the number 2 wide receiver here. Pair up with Debo. Rashad Bateman at the 411, and then Deontay Johnson. Big fan of Rashad Bateman. I like his upside without Marquise Brown. And then Deontay Johnson, I am down on him this year compared to last year, but after you've gone, 3 running backs, I'm just going for wide receiver upside here. Deontay and then Darnell Mooney for the volume. Then we finally see our first quarterback being drafted, and something you're going to notice here. We definitely follow the mentality of running backs early and often and then waiting for the quarterback position. It's a deep one. There's so much better value at the skill position. So Josh Allen in the 5th round here becomes a good value at this point in time. Then here, Allen Lazard at the 503. I'm very high on Allen Lazard, so we select him here as another wide receiver depth piece. Then Elijah Mitchell to this team that only had Dalvin Cook. I'm scared by Elijah Mitchell. I'm scared by a potential injury. I'm scared by the Trey Lance factor taking away rushing opportunities and, the fact that the 49ers don't commit to one guy all season long, year after year. But, at this point in time, I thought that, again, compared to some of the other names, I like the upside and I take a chance. Then Patrick Mahomes goes here, similar logic as to Josh Allen. I do have Mahomes, maybe a little bit lower, but I wanted to pair him up, get that stack with Juju Smith-Schuster. Then here we go, Chase Edmonds at the 506. In PPR scoring, taking a chance on him, pairing him with DeAndre Swift, as your number 2 running back. Then Hunter Renfrow here. You already have Saquon, David Montgomery getting some more depth, getting a high upside guy in Renfrow. Then Rashad Penny at the 508. You got to take a chance here on a guy that could potentially be the lead running back. Now, I don't anticipate his ADP being this high in your actual drafts. But depending on how serious the Ken Walker injury is with the hernia, Rashad Penny's going to have a lot of opportunities. And again, this team needed another running back since they only had Aaron Jones. Then you see here another similar situation. Only Breece Hall. You go with J.K. Dobbins. The injury, he's not on the PUP list, so we'll see there. Lamar Jackson is obviously in front of him at the quarterback position, going to take away a lot of opportunities. Doesn't add much as a pass catcher for the running back position, but you're looking for something. You're looking for potential pieces. You need to fill slots at running back. Then Josh Jacobs here. Again, I think it's probably going to be a committee type of deal with the Raiders, but I do think Jacobs is going to be the lead guy. I think he's going to be, probably when it's all said and done outside the top 20 running backs, though. But just, again, getting depth. Then another run on wide receivers, Michael Thomas, Jerry Jeudy here. You've already got 2 running backs, so just go best player available. That's exactly what happens. And then quarterbacks. The top 5 quarterbacks are now all off the board after Herbert, Lamar, and Kyler Murray go next. Here we get a Herbert, Mike Williams stack. So that's something that I like there. After Kyler Murray, you see Dameon Pierce here. I don't think he should be selected this high, but the way this team kind of ends up, you need the upside at the running back position. Sure, your wide receivers are awesome. You have the best combo of wide receivers, but running back is hurting. You're going for upside. Then you see Kareem Hunt here next. In PPR, he's a guy that potentially just a flex type of guy that hopefully gets you 10 points every week. Then Antonio Gibson at the 606. I don't like Antonio Gibson, but we get to a point where you're just kind of reaching for something, hopefully throwing something at the wall, see what sticks, and we'll see what that situation was Gibson. You've already got Saquon and David Montgomery, so you don't necessarily need Gibson, but so maybe to some extent a luxury pick. We'll see what happens. Then Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the 607. I think that backfield with the Chiefs is kind of a mess, but I still think CH is the running back to own. Obviously, he's not like a second or third round selection anymore. So whether you want to debate him being a value here or, whatever the case might be, I thought out of all the other choices, in terms of starting running backs, he probably had the best chance here. Then Amon-Ra St. Brown next, followed by Elijah Moore, 2 sophomore wide receivers. Then Cam Akers at the 610. Honestly, I was contemplating just not drafting Cam Akers at all, but this team only had 1 running back. You're going for upside. I wouldn't be shocked if Darrell Henderson leads the Rams, but here, kind of taking a shot with Cam Akers. Then Brandon Cook's a good value pick. And then you kind of see your run on tight ends here. Dalton Schultz, followed by Gabe Davis. A trendy pick, Gabe Davis. I'm not as high on him as some other people are. That's why he makes it to this point in time. But again, a good value pick in my opinion. Then you see Dallas Goedert need to kind of fill out the tight end position and want to get that, still be in that next tier of tight ends before there's a drop off. Then here we draft Tony Pollard to pair with Eckler and Akers, more depth. Here, Darrell Henderson, I thought a good value pick with Dalvin Cook and Elijah Mitchell. I like that. Then we have Zach Ertz, another tight end. Here, DeAndre Hopkins goes to the 706. We've already got Devontae Adams, Mike Evans. Hopkins is going to be suspended for the first 6 games, but afterwards, a great depth piece. Potentially could have a better season than Mike Evans. We'll see. Here we go, TJ Hawkinson next. And then after that, kind of a run on quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. Pair Jalen Hurts with A.J. Brown, get that stack. Joe Burrow, you pair up with Jamar Chase, another stack. So that's the logic there. Then a couple more tight ends. Cole Kmet at the 7-10. I think Cole Kmet at this point in time is the next best tight end. Then here, Melvin Gordon at the 7-11. Kind of I think a good depth piece. And if something happens to Javonte Williams, the guy's like a top 10 running back. Then Robert Tonyan. Tonyan has been, at the end of the 7th round, a guy, again, I wouldn't draft him this high. He's probably going to go undrafted in your leagues, but, after you go outside like the top 10 tight ends, it's a crapshoot. He's off the PUP list. I like the chemistry he has with Rodgers, so that was the logic there. There's going to be a lot of vacated targets without Devontae Adams. Then Naheem Hines, a guy in PPR formats maybe can be like a Kareem Hunt-esque type of guy. I think his upside is a little bit nicer with Matt Ryan there. Then Gerald Everett, this team needed to get another tight end, a tight end, I should say. Left it until the last round. I like the upside with the Chargers there. And then here cleaning up on some value for a wide receiver, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Brendan Ayuk. Metcalf, if he had a good quarterback, he'd be going much higher. Unfortunately, that's not the case, so he drops big time. Chris Godwin, again here, maybe kind of a luxury pick. You already have Jefferson and Jamar Chase, but if Godwin ends up playing this entire season, that's a hell of a trio of wide receivers. Then Brendan Ayuk here. Then a run on quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Derek Carr. I've said it before, Derek Carr, I love the upside. Pair him up with Devontae Adams. Russell Wilson, high upside. Wouldn't shock me at all if he's a top 5 quarterback. Then here, you needed a luxury pick again, kind of depth to the running back position, Damian Harris. Already got Kamara, Nick Chubb, so not too worried. Then you see here Trey Lance, Matthew Stafford. Trey Lance here, you're going for upside at this point in time. That's what Trey Lance gives you. Followed by Matthew Stafford here. I like Matthew Stafford. I think, as long as the elbow doesn't become a serious injury issue, he can be a top 6 type of quarterback. Then Devin Singletary here. You had Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams getting some more depth. Potential here with Singletary, even though I don't necessarily trust that backfield in Buffalo. And then our final pick here, need to go a quarterback. We get Dak Prescott. So, kind of pair him up with Dalton Schultz and get a little bit of a stack here. But that wraps up this, breakdown, our perfect 2022 fantasy football draft where we go pick by pick through the first 8 rounds. We make every single selection, break it down for you. In my opinion, like I said before, like I alluded to it, I really like how Team 11, Team 12 turned out. So definitely, if everyone has a mindset like me, where running backs are such a key commodity, important commodity, I think this is what you're going to see going running back in the first 2 rounds really paves the best path for success. So I like those teams the most. The Kamara-Nick Chubb combo, I like that as well. Here, McCaffrey, Etienne, and James Conner, I like that as well. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section along with any other questions you guys might have. Hopefully this was somewhat helpful. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. And then finally, make sure to check out the 2022 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Everything you can want at great value. Details in the description. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.